Okay, good day guys. We're here with a Smush, which is a Siege Monk Rush tutorial. Now this build order is generally something that you'll mostly be doing on something like, say, an arena style map, maybe Black Forest. Mostly because it dies really horribly to a feudal age aggression. So like on arena you've got your stone walls to defend you, Black Forest you can easily wall. And, well, basically, this is because your eco is really tight. You're pretty much only going to be gathering the bare minimum food and wood you need to age up, make villages, and build the buildings you need. Other than that, pretty much everything is gold to afford making monks. So if you lose control of your gold for like even just 30 seconds on the way up to castle age, it's pretty much GG, because you won't be able to make enough units. So, okay, basically just explain what it is. Now, also you can sort of use it on Nomad or Land Nomad maps, but because of the Nomad start, it isn't really a build order, it's more of just a general guideline of how many villages you need for gold and stone. Okay, so we've got our standard start. You put 6 on sheep, you look for your other sheep, you find your boar, etc, etc, and then you go 4 on wood. Now, if you get to a highish level of gameplay, you will want to lure deer for this build order, because ideally you want to get up to castle age as quickly as possible. Now, I slow this down quite a lot to make it more accessible for new players. Like, I'm doing a 27+2 and I'm also doing loom. But because you're on arena, obviously you don't really need to do loom, because you've got stone walls, so the enemy can't really harass your villages at all. Or unless you're really unlucky and like all your golden stones touching the wall, then they might maybe tower you. But basically, never gonna happen. So that saves you 50 gold. And then also, if you can push 2 or 3 of your deer to your town center before the 10-minute mark, that can quite easily shave off about a minute to a minute and a half off your castle age time. Just because you can avoid making as many farms, which means you need less on wood, which means you'll have more on food. It all just sort of cycles through like that. And because you also didn't do loom, you need less on gold. So it quite easily saves you a lot of time. Now, the build order will, of course, as like with every other tutorial video, the build order will be below the video in the description. But I will also briefly describe the main gist of it here right now. So we've got the 6 on sheep, 4 wood, 1 boar, 4 berries. That's pretty much standard for most build orders you're ever going to do in this game. Occasionally you'll do like 3 wood for scout rushes and such, but that's pretty much it. Then following on from that, you keep putting villages on food, specifically your boar under your town center, until you have 20 pop. So if I can do math correctly, that should be 4 extra villages on food underneath the town center. And while you're doing that, whenever you have 60 wood, you make a farm with the injured villagers. So you should make about 3 farms, as you'll see in this video. And you generally want to start making the farms about the time you're luring the second boar. And then once you're at 20 pop, you put 4 more on wood, and then your last 3 villages go to gold. And then you'll also make a couple more farms before you get to feudal age as your sheep start to run out, just to make sure you've got enough food income to be able to click up the castle age. So here we are, just still checking some farms, and then we're about to send the next 4 villages to a new lumber camp. So other than that, I'll briefly talk about arena as well, the map, because that is the map that is most likely to be a useful build order on it. So once you've found all your resources, and assuming you're not pushing deer like this build order suggests, just to make it a little bit easier, you're going to want to scout the rest of the map to try to find where the relics are, because you're making monks, you may as well grab the relics while you're at it. And then try to see if there are any resources close to the enemy walls. Because, for example, if you can see both of their stone mines, then it'll be extremely easy for you to tell if they're going for a castle drop, because you can check both the stone mines and see if they're mining stone. That's pretty simple concept, I think. And other than that, really it's just looking for the 2 extra golds and 1 extra stone, which are generally around the edges of the map, which we'll see a little bit later once I finish scouring the middle of the map. But they aren't that important, to be honest. You're better off looking for the relics, because you can grab them pretty much immediately with your monks that you're creating. Now, to add to your monk and siege army combo, lots of players will either go for scouts, like feudal scout cabs, maybe light cabs if you can afford the upgrade, but that's generally fairly expensive, or spearmen to counter the enemy making scouts. Now, there are some significant bonuses going either way. Obviously, spearmen are a lot cheaper, because A, you don't need to build the stable, and B, the units themselves are cheaper. But with the scouts, it gives you a lot more options with how you engage the enemy in your fights. Because scouts are pretty quick, they can get in there, and if you can pick off 2 or 3 of the enemy monks before they get any converts, then that'll put you in a very strong position for the fight that's about to happen. Now, so obviously you got to be careful with the spearmen, but that all just comes down to your general skill and micro abilities. Now, from here on, there's really not much to do. You'll build a market and a blacksmith, and the market is actually really useful for this build order, because in general, after you're doing a smush, you'll try to get to Imperial Age as quickly as possible. So having the market to be able to sell wood, sell stone, and buy the food and collect the gold that you need to get up really quickly is massively important. And it also lets you kind of react to what the enemy's doing. Because if your smush isn't as effective as you would like it to be, and the enemy's got quite a large army, and you're sitting there and you're floating 300, 400 wood, then you can easily sell that and maybe try to buy the stone for a castle, or some walls, or towers, or something to defend your base. And it just gives you a lot more options with what you can do following on from your rush. Now here I'm just quickly having a look at my map, and it's actually very nice. I've got the 2 back stones. My main gold isn't too forward, so in Castle Age, this will be really nice, as well as the extra relics that I've got sitting in the front there. But something else that's quite important on arena maps is that sort of open area to the back corner, because that gives me a lot of space to boom in if I were going for a boom, and if I'm getting pushed, that gives me space to sort of fall back into if I need it. Because, like, as you can see, like the walls, like the square that your walls form, is quite a limited area. There's not a lot of space for you to build 3 TCs and a bunch of farms. So if you were to go for a boom later on, then having all that extra space just makes it so much easier. Now what we can do here is I'm putting lots of villages on the gold. You're generally going to want at least 8 to 10 villages on gold. And then of course you want to do your eco upgrades as quickly as possible, because you need a lot of wood to build 2 monasteries and a siege workshop, and you need a lot of gold to make monks and do the gold heavy technologies that you need to upgrade those units. Now to follow on from that, once you do get up, you don't need a lot of food income. Like, the 4 villas on berries and like 6 or 7 farms is going to be absolutely plenty. Once the berries run out, you can basically send them to go do whatever you want for the early stages of Castle Age, because as soon as you get the 2nd wood upgrade, you just need a tiny bit of food income to keep making villages, and then your eco will just keep plodding along, and then as you start to float wood, you'll start to drop down extra farms. Now, this castle age time, it's pretty good for the 27+2 build that we've done, but if you compare it to like the pro, as in 2K plus FEUDAL players, you'll see on Arena that they regularly get to castle age below 16-minute mark. So like they'll do a monk rush and they'll be in castle age right now in this video at around 15:30. Or even earlier, even 14:30, 15 minutes depending on the civ. Which is amazingly good. Like imagine this, like I'm castled like just about 16 minutes. If they were there a minute earlier, then I wouldn't be able to build these forward monasteries or siege workshop, which I'm doing to make it easier for my army to push out, because I can just ungarrison straight out to the outside world. But they've got an extra minute to collect the relics. And relics are super important on Arena, because generally the game can go for quite a long game, because it can be difficult to push in because of the walls, of course, and the relatively closed nature of the map. So having that gold income, it helps your eco to begin with, and then as you get to the later stages of the game, it's free gold that you wouldn't normally have, especially as you start to run low on the those natural gold mines. Now, because this is versus the AI, I get all the relics, no problem. But that's just, yeah, it's the AI. They kind of suck. It's just chilling versus them, to be honest. And then from here, there's not much more to this build order. I'll just briefly explain the monk techs that you're going to want to prioritize. And after that, I think I'll probably finish this video unless I think of something else. Now, the first one that you want to think of is Sanctity, which is plus 50% hit points. Now, you'll want to do that one first if you know that the enemy is making scouts or spearmen, because that extra 15 health means that you can tank an extra scout hit and like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 spearmen hits. But Atonement, which is the one that I just did, is if you know the enemy is doing their own counter monks, because it allows you to convert enemy monks, which essentially just you use a convert and then you essentially get a free one back if you convert the correct monk. And then the final important monk upgrade, which is also the most expensive, which is Redemption, which comes in at the whopping 475 gold cost, allows you to convert buildings and siege weapons, which is really necessary if, obviously, they're making mangonels, because you can convert them before they get in range to attack you, and to basically troll your enemy and convert their siege workshops and barracks and houses to just screw them over a little bit. Because you convert their siege workshop, then you can build mangonels in their base. You convert their houses, they're going to get popped a little bit faster, you've got some pop space, and it pretty much beats one of the other counters to monks, which are mangonels. Because, of course, with Sanctity, they can tank one mangonel shot, but without it, they get completely crumpled by mangonels. But this way, with Redemption, you can hopefully avoid that where possible by converting the mangonel before it shoots you, which is a pretty good thing to do. I think that's about it. I might just quickly tab into the essentially the endgame Imperial Age timing, which is pretty much 30 minutes from memory, and my eco is actually really weak at that stage. Like, I'm able to afford the gold to do the Imperial Age monk techs and make a couple more mangonels, and that's about it. So you don't really have the ability to quickly transition into mass of trash or some other unit without preparing for it beforehand or completely stopping monk production to buy wooden food. So that's just something to keep in mind, that because you're only on one town center, you've got a lot less villages than you would in a standard game. So this is essentially just like your all-in hyper-aggressive push. It's basically a do or die strategy, and ideally you get yourself into a commanding position by around this stage of the game, 22-23 minute mark. And then if you're winning, you can maybe sit back a little bit and make a second town center for some extra villagers, or continue pushing in and don't give them any space, which basically comes down to your preferred playstyle. Okay, so here we are. I'm just about to hit the Imperial Age. You can see I've got a lot of gold in the bank, and I've made some extra monasteries. That's just because I'm going all in with monks. And the text that I'm going to do is block printing, which is +3 range, and theocracy, which is when your monks convert stuff, not all of the group will lose their conversion faith. So you can use 3 monks to quickly convert a mangonel or a scout cav or something, and you don't basically kill yourself by all of your monks running out of faith. And those are the 2 most important ones, closely followed by I can't remember the name, but the one that gives you 50% faster regeneration of faith. But those other 2 are generally better. Yeah, illumination, that's the one. Just had to wait to catch up to the video, which because like you want the extra range so you can convert things faster before they get close to you, and the group one, as I said, so that you don't Titanic and waste all your faith. Now, this video is very situational, especially for you lower level viewers, because it's a very difficult strategy to do well, simply because the amount of micro your monks need is quite insane compared to just like your usual archer flush or something. And also because arena, I think it isn't played very aggressively in the lower levels. Like, I know when I first started, I played arena and I just sat in my base and boomed. Like, I pretty much do 3 TCs and boom, maybe build a castle to defend 90% of the time. The only other things I'd really do would be like, say, forward castles with mines or Spanish. It's just a very relaxed style of play. So this could be an interesting way for you to mix it up. But I guess just give it a go and see what happens, really. So thank you for watching. Leave a like and comment if you want to. It doesn't really matter. And I'll see you next time.